Hello, Wobbly Phil here. It's 1970 and you're in the BSA Triumph press office, nursing your hangover after the fizz-filled launch at a swanky London hotel of the company's new range of motorbikes. The 1971 sales brochure has been printed with a new 350cc twin taking pride of place. Glossy publicity photos of the twin-cam Triumph Bandit and BSA's version, the Fury, have been taken with the bikes draped in glamour models outside a stunning country house. Ads have been taken out in the US trade papers, promising a new kind of power. Then you hear from the suits in the executive suite that the bike's been canned. What the f***? You don't need me to tell you what a dismal decade the 1970s was for the British bike industry. Over the course of 10 short years, it all but disappeared. Even by 1970, Triumph, Norton and BSA had mostly abandoned the sub-750 market to the Japanese and were concentrating on what were then regarded as big bikes, the Bonneville, the Trident and the Commando. They were chasing the Yankee dollar, and to be fair, they still had paying customers across the pond for these super sexy, speedy street machines. But their core market in the UK was pivoting towards smaller bikes. They'd tried the weird Ariel 3 and, well, dual overhead cam or double overhead cam or twin cam or DOHC engines had been around since the 1910s and had increasingly been used by car makers since 1945. The first mass-produced, mass-selling twin-cam street bike of the modern era didn't hit the showrooms until 1972. That was Kawasaki's game-changing Z1, and it took the world by storm. But at Triumph's Design and Development Centre at Umberslade Hall, there'd been talk of twin cams since the late 1960s. The management were somewhat detached from the boffins of Umberslade Hall, and the designers in the former servants' quarters on the top floor of the mansion were mostly left to their own devices, according to the folk who worked there at the time. They'd already drawn up plans for a twin-cam 125 single, a twin-cam 250 twin, a twin-cam 353, and a twin-cam 504. The 350 was prioritised, but the higher-ups kept mucking about with various methods of driving the overhead cams. At some stage, Triumph's ageing and retired design guru Edward Turner put in his two penn'orth, announcing he'd already designed a twin-cam 350 twin as a riposte to Honda's twin-cam 450cc Black Bomber, and that it had allegedly clocked 112 miles per hour on a test track in 1968. The nascent dual-cam design was dropped like a hot rock, and Turner's 350 was progressed instead after some improvements to what Triumph's chief engineer Bert Hopwood described as a fundamentally unsafe crankshaft. After all, the Turner plan had all the short-sighted advantages of using existing machine tooling with minimal investment, rather than future-proofing the company with Japanese-style cost efficiency and reliability and performance enhancements.
I wonder if there's anyone here who can put his hand on his heart and truly say, I am doing my best.
For the Brits, it was a no-brainer. But then in July 1971 came the killer news that BSA Triumph had plunged from a £1.25 million profit the previous year to a devastating £2.5 million loss. Bosses soon realised they'd overreached themselves. They'd planned too many changes, too many bikes, all too soon. Production of the Bandit was halted with a vague promise it might resume in 1973 if things took a turn for the better, which they didn't. Work on the production of any other twin-cam models was to cease permanently. From then on, the only way was down for poor old BSA Triumph, and by the mid-1970s they'd end up in the hands of Dennis Poor's Manganese Bronze Holdings. So what did the world miss out on? Only a dozen or so Triumph Bandits and BSA Furies still exist, making them as rare as the proverbial. A running example has been preserved by the excellent British motorcycle Charitable Trust. It made its track debut at the Vintage Motorcycle Club's Festival of 1,000 Bikes in 2008. Handling, courtesy of the Rob North designed frame, was reported to be excellent and very stable, eminently flickable in fact, and the brakes coped well. The bike's alloy engine could output 34 bhp at 9,000 rpm. Not bad on a bike that only weighed 345 pounds dry. According to the March 1971 edition of Cycle Guide magazine, despite not adopting Japanese bulletproof practices, the engine was oil-tight and the bike could run all day long at 90 miles an hour, and was rumoured to top out at 110. An electric starter, 12-volt electrics and twin Amel carbs were also part of the package. The retail price in the UK was set to be £402. The most recent sale of a BSA Fury I could find was in 2008, and it went for €32,000, equivalent of about £24,000 back then. Triumph and BSA almost certainly had a bestseller on their hands, but through a combination of poor management, bad planning, labour troubles, and the beginnings of a global recession, once again the British bike industry managed to pull disaster from the jaws of success. Of course, we eventually did get a twin-cam Bandit in 1989, but that came courtesy of Suzuki. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please consider liking, subscribing, commenting and sharing to let YouTube know we're doing something right here at Three Fills. Thank you.